They're heating up their leftover salmon salad and all of that. So I'm going to go ahead and do some announcements, and then we'll get started with the program. So thank you so much for being here today. I really appreciate it. My name is Linda Calvin. I'm a board member of Women in High Tech and the director of the Executive Women's Forum. And I'm really glad to see you here today. I'm going to be making some announcements normally that our President Maria would be making, but she's ill, and so she's still going to participate on the panel, but she's trying to save her voice. So I'll make some announcements, but first, I want to make sure that we're clapping and we're celebrating the fact that Maria is the first Latina president of Women in High Tech. So we are very excited, snaps and claps to welcome her. We are so thrilled to have her. And so first of all, just to go over a few announcements coming up, a few events coming up tomorrow, which is the 16th, from 4 to 5 p.m. there is a clickside chat called The Uncharted: Cultivating Resilience in a World of Constant Change. And that conversation and that presentation will be done by Jennifer Merrill, who is the Vice President of Relationship Management at TechPoint. She's also just a really awesome individual. If you don't know her, follow her on LinkedIn. And so she will be awesome. There's a partner event then also tomorrow evening from 6 to 9, and that's at the Speakeasy, and it's Wonder Woman Talk, sponsored by Young Professionals of Central Indiana, as well as Women in High Tech. It's 6 to 9, there's networking from 6 to 7, and then there's a panel discussion. I will be a member of that panel, as well as Judith Thomas, Deputy Mayor for the City of Indianapolis, a partner at Ice Miller, Myra Selby, and Alexis Roger, Wish TV anchor. So hopefully, if you're feeling well and you're ready to get out, you can join us at the Speakeasy in Broad Ripple for that talk. We'd love to see you there in the audience. And then there is finally the last event for Women in High Tech of the year. It's our holiday networking event, Let's Go Dancing. It's at Vision Loft Events downtown off of Delaware. It's 5 to 7:30. There are still 90 spaces left, but it sells out. And I believe in the past it is sold out. We sold out last year pretty quickly. So if you want to be in the know, hanging with the most awesome women ever in Indianapolis, please get your ticket now so you don't have the FOMO of hanging out with these awesome women. So, and also for Executive Women's Forum, I'm working on some great things for next year. Have an event we call Connection. I hope to talk about AI and other STEM related topics, because we've heard from members, we've heard from people that you really want to have leadership topics, but you also want to have STEM topics. So we're going to lean into that. There may be an opportunity where we pull together a few members along with myself and someone else, where we talk to you about what specifically you'd like to learn at our Executive Women's Forum. Also next year, we're going to have more in-person events. When I joined as a board member in 2020, it was COVID, right? And then last year was still COVID. We had one in-person event last year, and we've had one this year. We will have more next year now that we're kind of getting into the groove, and we've heard from you that you are now ready to start getting out again. So we are happy to hear that, and we will start hosting more in-person events. So with that, I don't think there's anything else I've missed, right, Maria?
No, you did fantastic.
And for
Thank
the other
you.
You're welcome. For the other board members who are on this call, please ping me if there's something else. The one thing I want to say is, for those of you who are joining who are not members of Women in High Tech, consider becoming a member of Women in High Tech. This is a great organization, the only one in the state of Indiana that's focused on advancing women in STEM. We are large, we are expanding and hosting events in Fort Wayne. We're going to Terre Haute. We're talking with colleges and outreach. So please consider becoming a member. You can talk with your company. They can buy a bunch of memberships. You can participate in so many events. There's clickside chats, retreats, the Executive Women's Forum, networking events, international events. There's so much that we do at Women in High Tech, and you can be a part of this awesome network of women in Central Indiana and even beyond. So with that, now I will do some introduction, and I want to kick this off as many of you are joining. I want to kick this off to talk about this topic. You know, the one thing that I've been very involved in is understanding the deficit of women, for me personally, the deficit of women of color. Well, I will narrowly define as Black, Latinx, and Native American, BLNA, in tech, because that's my focus, is working in tech. But the one thing that I've noticed is there has been this lack of voice from Latina women in STEM, and I want to hear that voice. There is a deficit of Latina women in STEM, and it's time for all of us to understand what we can do, number one, to increase those numbers, number two, to celebrate those women who are pioneers, who you are going to hear from today, who are experts in their fields, and what we can take away from today on how we are going to flip the script on this deficit of rock star women in STEM. But I'm going to share a few statistics with you right now. So the gap in the STEM workforce representation is especially large for Hispanic adults. Hispanic workers make up 17% of total employment across all occupations, but just 8% of all STEM workers. Among Hispanics earning bachelor's degree in STEM fields, females earn substantially fewer than males, 36% versus 64%. That's huge. Of the 29% of women in STEM careers, only 4% are Latina. This is some of this, they say, is due to economic factors, social and cultural stigmas, and a lack of outreach and role models. Hispanic and Latina women make up just 1.6%. Now, I want that to resonate with you. 1.6% of senior executives in the nation's largest companies, right? Of 92 companies in the S&P 100 reviewed by USA Today, 18 had zero, bagel. 18 had no Latinas in senior executive positions. Latinas are also underrepresented as managers at 4.4% and professionals at 3.2%. The former CEO of PG&E, Geisha Williams, said, here's a barrier. If they speak English with an accent, they are told they are too hard to understand or they are not articulate enough. They face stereotypes of being the sexy or fiery Latina. And despite high levels of education and experience, they are mistaken for domestic help and asked to get coffee or clear tables. Wow, right? Wow. How many Fortune 500 Latina CEOs are there? There are 2 Black females. How many Latina? 1, Priscilla Almodovar. She was named CEO of Fannie Mae just last week. Until last week, there were none. And it's marked as only the 3rd time a Latina has been appointed to lead a Fortune 500 company. Hispanic people remain the least represented demographic in boardrooms per a new report. 56%, majority say not having a mentor. 56% of students interviewed in a study say 56% say not having a mentor is a major reason young people do not pursue college degrees in STEM. And finally, Hispanic students remain underrepresented in STEM degree programs. Only 12% have earned a bachelor's degree in a related field. That's a lot of data and information, but that tells the story. That tells the story of the underrepresentation in STEM. and why we have to change this narrative. So today I have put together this fantastic panel that will be moderated by Doneisha Posey, who is General Counsel for Black Onyx Management. She is a diversity thought leader. She used to be counsel for the Indiana Civil Rights Commission, the vice president of diversity at Ivy Tech. She's awesome. She's also Afro-Latina. She is going to moderate this panel today with these fantastic women. So what I'm going to invite you to do is, if you have questions, please type them in the chat or the Q&A. I'll be monitoring, and there may be a time where we want to interrupt the conversation to post that, but please feel free to ask your questions. We want this to be interactive. We want you to leave here going, yes, I am full, I am engaged, and I know what I need to do. So with that, Doneisha, I will hand the mic over to you.
All right. Thank you so much, Linda, for that warm introduction. Hello, everyone. Can I say good afternoon yet? Maybe in about 15 minutes. So good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. Actually, Jasmin, you're in Mexico City, you said, so it's super early for you, right? So good morning for you. I think you're going to say something.
Oh, no, thank you. It's actually, I think we're on the same time zone right now.
Okay,
Possibly.
it's 11:45?
11:44.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay, awesome. Well, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Doneisha Posey, as Linda just mentioned. I'm really excited about this panel. Latinos are one of the fastest growing groups in the nation, a trend that now extends far beyond historic Latino population centers to every region and state across the nation, including Indiana. Latinos are a diverse population, tracing their roots to islands of Dominican Republic, ese es mi Isla Bella, La Quisqueya, Mexico, Colombia, and more than 20 other nations across Central and South America, with experiences and views about American society often differing widely depending on whether they were born in the United States or immigrated to this country. As you can see, we are not a monolith. Many barriers stand in the way of a Latina pursuing a career in STEM, from societal and familial norms to high school counselors telling Latinas, and other women for that matter, maybe you'd be better suited majoring in something else. This experience has been the case for decades. If one pushes past these microaggressions and outright discriminatory practices, there are still challenges with the lack of resources, support, and the isolation of being la única, or the only one in the room. The numbers say it all. According to the National Science Foundation, only 2% of Latinas held science and engineering positions in 2021. And that number hasn't changed much in the past 7 years. But for Latinas in academia, STEM, and beyond, embracing technology and the power of community are key to accelerating success. So Linda has provided some very important and alarming statistics about how Latinas are represented or not represented in STEM. We have a long way to go to address the disparities today that we see. And today we will discuss some of these disparities, but we also want to celebrate the tremendous impact Latinas are having in their fields and also hear about their real life experiences as being Latinas in STEM. All right, so I'll want each of the panelists to introduce yourselves, tell us a little bit about your background, your origin stories, maybe how you got into STEM, and yeah, let's start with Paula.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much, Doneisha. Thank you so much, Linda, for all the statistics and the background. I think it's important for us to be in this mindset of why this discussion is important. So hi, everyone. Buenos días a todos. My name is Paula Angarita Rivera. I am originally from Bogota, Colombia. I came to the States about 10 years ago with a goal in mind. I wanted to learn English. And I decided to live in Savannah, Georgia, do 1 year of high school. And then during my stay in Georgia, my high school decided to pursue a career in the States. So I decided to apply for college. And when I was back in Colombia, I knew I wanted to be an engineer. I wanted to be a civil engineer. However, when I expressed this to my school officials, like my academic advisor, that's when I found my first obstacle in my professional career. This academic advisor told me, Paula, you cannot do engineering in the States. You are just learning English. I don't think you are there yet. It's a really hard career. And that's the reason why I actually ended up in Indianapolis. I applied for Mayor University School. I'm very passionate about my faith. So I said, all right, if I cannot do engineering, I can do something that I'm also passionate, which is helping helping my community grow in their faith. So Mary University is a Catholic school. So I ended up there. I got a scholarship. And then one day before my first class, my first day of classes, I shared this story with my academic advisor. And they say, okay, let's try to make this engineering work. So 5 years later, I graduated as the first engineer Latina woman from the dual degree program between Marian and IUPUI, which means is I get a degree from Marian, it was mathematics, and I got a degree from IUPUI or Purdue, which is biomedical engineering. At that point, kind of like it was a good eye-opening that it's possible. I just had to speak up. And then after that, I got the opportunity to pursue a master's with my thesis, with my professor, my research professor, and I stayed and I did mechanical engineering. And throughout this journey, something that I realized is that I was the only one. Era la única. So now currently I'm trying to fight that, right? And I'm trying to make sure the people behind me are not the only ones. So now I'm currently serving as the regional vice president for the Society of Hispanic Professional Engineers. It's known SHIP. And pretty much we are the largest organization for STEM, for Latinos in STEM, currently in the United States. And my goal as a regional vice president is make sure that we are encouraging our undergrad, graduates, professionals, and juniors, high schoolers, to pursue STEM. And we have diverse programs. And I'm really passionate about that. And my other job that I'm really passionate to is I work at Eli Lilly. I'm a senior scientist here. I'm very happy that I'm able to be here, show this Colombian personality to a lot of people that probably are not aware of. I'm doing a rotational program. It's a very prestigious rotational program that the R&D and Maria has built up here at Eli Lilly, where we want to attract more diverse talents and retain them. So I would tell my first boss, I was like, probably you will know about Colombia more than you ever imagined to. And they're okay with it. So it's very good to be in a place in a company that accepts who I am and it lets me be my authentic self. So yeah, hi everyone.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that, Paula. All right, we will move on to Amparo.
There we go. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Hello. Thank you, ladies, for inviting me to be part of this panel and for the fantastic background. And so glad to see the other panelists as well, some that are friends already and some that will become friends in the very near future. So my origin story is I'm from Uruguay originally, and despite having been born to a couple of literature professors, I was always interested in science from the very beginning. First in biology, I would play with any little, insect I could find. And then I fell in love with chemistry in high school, which was sort of my first really scientific subject. And then went into the College of Chemistry to pursue the pharmaceutical career. And over there, while I was doing my technical studies in pharmacy, I discovered pharmacokinetics and pharmacodynamics, which was the only thing that really made sense to me and caught my attention. And long story short, I moved to US after getting my chemistry and pharmacy degrees. I did my PhD at University of Florida with Dr. Derendorf. And from there on, I did work at a Lilly company for 21 plus years, and then moved to Simulations Plus, more specifically to the Cognigen division earlier this year. So which felt like a going back to the roots and going back to the science and all those numbers that speak to us, that means so much. But on the other hand, I'm also very conscious of trying to help the community, and I'm part of the board of directors of the Indianapolis Public Library Foundation, and through them trying to work in, increasing the diversity of the board, increasing the diversity of the offers that we have through the library. So we help them, fund the programs that they offer. And a couple of our board members have experienced their fabulous nights at the library that happen hopefully every once a year going on. So I'm very eager to mentor new people, because one of the things that made a significant difference for me is that I was raised to believe that there wasn't anything I couldn't do. So it wasn't a matter of being a girl or being a Latina or being, from a third world country or being, it didn't matter. If you knew what you wanted to do and you put in the work, then you were able to do it. So that's part of what I would like people to take away from this today.
Thank you so much. All right, we'll go to you, Maria.
Hi, everyone. My voice is a little bit scratchy today. I got a bug coming from a conference last week. My story, I am from Brazil, and I find sometimes curious that I, coming to United States, find a way to belong. I have a very funny story, now I call funny, is when I arrived here, I went to the Social Security office and to take my Social Security. I came to United States to study. And when I got there, I have put myself as white. And the lady on the Social Security office told me, "You are not white." And then I look at her and I changed to black. And it was a black lady. And she looked at me, she said, "You ain't black." So I said, "Okay, I am not white, I'm not black." She said, "You are other." And that was a very interesting moment for meeting is being recorded, because it was very important to me to have that sense of belong. And my first week in the United States, I was called other. But I didn't let that uh, bother me too much. I said, "Okay, I'm other, that's fine." And I move on. Today, I can classify myself as Hispanic slash Latina, but still, I'm not Hispanic. I am Latina, but not Hispanic. I don't speak Spanish. I speak Portuguese. And so sometimes it's also difficult to break in some of the Hispanic societies and things we have, because I am also kind of don't belong there. And so it is important to raise awareness that um, as Latinas, we not all speak Spanish. Some of us speak Portuguese. And if you think about it, South America, half of it is Brazil. So half of South America speak Portuguese. So half of the Latinos on that area speak Portuguese. And make room for us. Make sure that we feel the belonging. And so that was very important to me. I was always pushing to participating and to bring in and to make people to understand not all Latinos speak Spanish. That was one of my fight early on. I participate um, in many ERGs in my company, which is the employee resource groups. And I remember going to meetings and everybody speaking Spanish. And I would say, "Guys, can you speak English?" Because a lot of people speak Spanish, I cannot understand. So I was always the odd apple. But I have continued participating as a Lilly employee. After I finished my PhD, I got a job at Lilly, Eli Lilly and Company. I have been with Eli Lilly over 22 years. Uh, at Lilly, I have found a community. Um, there is a lot of Brazilians here in Indianapolis and at Lilly. We have the Brazil Lilly lunch, and we all help each other. We make the community. As a scientist, I have to reinvent myself many times. And one of the things that was mentioned before is that we speak with an accent. I have told many times that I speak with my hands. I make people dizzy. I have them all. But what I decided to is that I speak with my hand, and if I make you dizzy, just don't look at me when I'm talking. There was time that I would come to a meeting and I would sit at my hands so I would not disturb other people. But you realize with time that takes too much of energy trying to conform to be somebody else. Take that energy and put it in educating people to accept you for who you are, the same way you accept them for who they are. And then take that all that energy into become the best scientist you can do. Take all of the energy to put into your job to make the things you love and that you're passionate about it.
Awesome, Maria. Thank you so much for that. And last but certainly not least, we have Jasmin here. She is not from Indiana. She doesn't live in Indianapolis like the rest of us. So love to hear about you, Jasmin, and where you come from. What do you do and how did you get here?
Absolutely. So I'm not from Indianapolis, but really honored to be in such good company. So I am presently in Mexico City on vacation, but I I grew up in Connecticut. Usually I'm in New York area. I would say I have a very non-traditional background. I actually went to school and I started my career as a teacher. Similar to all of your stories, I actually love that you are so open to sharing your experiences. I taught ESL, so English as a second language, in elementary and adult education as well. So I placed myself as like a change agent because I had heard so many stories of individuals who were immigrating to the country and were always told like these very low achieving like narratives, and it was so frustrating to hear that over and over again. So I wanted to make sure that if nothing else, I could help at least my students understand that they could do more. And from then on, I entered tech eventually after transitioning out of teaching, and I have since been really doing the same type of work. I am a DEI consultant now, formerly the executive director of Techqueria, which is the largest Latino tech professional community. So I've really helped to support different diverse groups within the tech space in the STEM field to navigate the workplace, navigate the industry, and really just find those supportive areas where you can feel like you can be yourself. And background-wise, I am Puerto Rican, so really excited to be here with you all. It's honestly un placer conocer everyone, and excited to chat some more about STEM and all the hardships that we do face in the industry. And Maria, just like you, I also talk with my hands all the time, so don't mind that.
I think we all probably do that. All right, so let's dig into these questions. So I'm the only non-STEM person on this panel, so I hope the rest of the attendees can bear with me. I'm going to ask some very literal questions because I do want to know just more about the STEM field. So let's start there. Talk to us about your story, about your career journey. I think, Paula, you hit on this already when you talked about your journey starting. So talk to us about why you selected your STEM path and the challenges that you faced and what has contributed to your success over the years. And we can start with anyone.
I'll take that one first.
Okay.
So I always wanted, as very young, even as a child, I always wanted to make medicines. And so as a high school, my parents made us all go to trade school because we were a family of five. My parents had no education, and they want to make sure that if we couldn't afford to go to college, we at least had some sort of trade. So I went to trade school as a chemist. So I'm a chemist technician, and but then I passed on the national exam for my country, and I was able to go to a federal university, which is completely free in Brazil. And I went to pursue a pharmacy career. In Brazil, pharmacy degree is from day one. It's not like in the United States. So, and when I finished the pharmacy degree, I continued my education. I wanted to become a scientist. I was asked many times why I chose a pharmacy degree. One time I had someone ask me, but why are you going to go to college and then be behind the counter uh, selling drugs? And perhaps it was out of not having the fully understand. My parents didn't have not even high school. And the easiest way to explain to my father why I wanted to be that, do that, and make him to be proud of me was to let him know, look, because in their mind you would be a lawyer, a physician, an engineer. There was those very classic jobs. And then I told him, there is no good doctors if there is not the pharmacist and the scientist that make the medicine. They can prescribe if we don't make the medicine. So can you see that how important it is to become the one that understand about the medicines and make them and discover them? And then after that, many times I saw my father talking with some of his friends that would come by the house. Oh, my daughter, she's studying to be a pharmacist. And you know what? You need to have pharmacists because they the ones that will discover the medicines and all of that. So he listened and I moved on. My mom would say that, oh my God, you married to the books, you study too much. But they were always very right there. Going with my dreams. And so I finally got a scholarship from the Brazilian government to move to United States to do for 2 years research here in the anti-malaria. I have to write a project. I have to go for it. And I was awarded. And I came just to stay 2 years, do those works, and return to Brazil and do my PhD there. That work will be towards my PhD. But I end up falling in love, getting married to someone in a Mississippian man, and then stay and did my PhD at Alvim in medicinal chemist. And I continue studying malaria uh, to honor my government why I came here. And then I got a job at Lilly, and I have been with Lilly since. At Lilly, I had worked as a computational chemist. I had worked in discovery ops, where I work with companies that we hire to do our work. I had work in external innovation, you name it. I was able to reinvent myself when the company need me in a different place. So I can say that STEM was always there for me as a child. I even have a name for the drug I was going to create. Because my name is Alvim, and I used to say that I was going to create a drug that was called Nasalvim. Well, it was just a simple medicines for your nose, but as a child, I have a good memory. And here I am being part of a company that every day change people's life and making medicines to make people live better lives.
I love that. Like you just never know when you're a child what you say or what you do and how you bring that through in your entire life. So Nasalvim, that's what you were going to name your drug. I love that. How old were you, do you think, when you came up with that?
I was in middle school before I joined high school.
I love that. I love it. All right, Amparo.
I got so entertained by Maria's story. I sort of forgot the question a little bit.
No, just talk to us about your career journey. I think you touched on it a little bit, but we'd love to hear more.
I did. So I mentioned I had done my early degrees in chemistry and pharmacy in Uruguay at the Universidad de la República. And then I moved to University of Florida to pursue my PhD degree there, and that was on PK/PD modeling. I mean, the official degree is in pharmaceutics, but it was based on PK/PD modeling of antibiotics, which was an amazing opportunity, not only because of the subject learning, but of the group of people that was there learning at the same time as I was, that have become lifelong friends, thanks to the atmosphere that this professor was able to create in his lab, that he was extremely welcoming, and he had people coming in and out all the time. He was from Germany. He had a lot of German students and students from all over Europe coming in for short-term stays to learn, and they worked with us, which were graduate students at that point. And then from there, I was hired by Eli Lilly and Company as I said, and I spent 21 plus years there in different positions in different departments. I would say 2/3 of that time, I'm sorry, I speak in numbers and with hands too. 2/3 of that time were spent in the PKPD department as a scientist. And during that, I had the fortune of taking 2 drugs to market as the lead PKPD person for those drugs, which was very, very nice, both in the areas of diabetes. And then I moved to a different department that operated more, name is Chorus, and it operated more as a small biotech, and through which we had external clients as well that we did drug development for. So that gave me a little bit of a first taste of consulting, but within the bigger, safer, if you will, structure of the big pharma company. And then when the opportunity of leading the Department of Pharmacometrics at the Cognigen division of Simulations Plus came by, it seemed like a perfect, transition to go further into the field of consulting, at the same time going back to the science and updating my knowledge and relearning new things. And, so just a wonderful, wonderful, great opportunity to be there. So that's, in short, sort of my career path and the decisions that fueled it.
All right, I think I'm going to take a different turn now. So if you wouldn't mind, share a deciding moment in your career when you knew you had to make a change or take a leap of faith or stay true to who you are and your boundaries. I'd love to hear one of those deciding moments in your life.
I guess I can start. So I guess for me was not too long ago. It was this past, almost a year ago, April. So I'm an international student from Colombia. So finding jobs in the States is a little bit trickier because the companies have to sponsor you and they have to be willing to do that extra work. So I was having some challenges finding a job. So I said, well, you know what? I'm just going to continue my education. I'm just going to pursue a PhD, right? My mentor already gave me open doors, right? Continue in the lab with me. And I said, all right. So I applied. I actually got a fellowship. I got into Purdue, and I accepted it. And 2 weeks later, Maria calls me. And she's like, hey, Paula, we got your resume. Lilly would like to talk to you. And it was interesting because I've been trying to apply to Lilly like for years and never heard back, right? And now like I'm getting a call. So that evolved for like an offer within 2 weeks. And I was in shock because I was like, what am I gonna do now? Like I have a whole PhD or I have a job that it sounds amazing. And at that moment, I was very confused. I talked to a lot of mentors. I know some of you talk about, Amparo talk about mentors. That was like, I don't think I was able to take that decision alone. But really, what it come down from all my mentors' suggestion was like, just what they make you feel. Like what you felt when you got the offer from PhD, what you felt when you got the offer with Lilly. And I have been in the academia for like the past 7 years. I never had an internship, right? I was always working in the lab in academia. And when Lilly, I can definitely feel that when Lilly gave me the offer, I felt this joy that it was the call. It was the call to say, you need to take that step because you cannot go into a PhD. First, it's really a lot of work. And two, without knowing what is out there for you. So I think for me, it took a lot of months of like thought, like writing down the pros and cons of like each of the options. And the reason why I think it's a decisive moment is because the decision would have been, the way that my life would have evolved it would be different if I do a PhD, than if I now work. So I think it took a lot of me and my mentor support to come up with this decision.
Anyone else want to share? Yep.
Listen, if I may add to that is such on the point, and it reminded me a little bit of the earlier conversation we were having while preparing for the panel, that was how important it is to recognize the opportunities when they come to you, because sometimes it is a 20-second moment, that you have to recognize this is when I say yes, or I say, talk to me a little more about this. Or I say, send me the documents and let me take a look at them, or send me the offer and we'll talk. And those moments can be life-changing. So it's a matter of being open to those moments, learning to recognize them, and then, like you said, consulting with your mentors, consulting with the people that can give you advice, and being brave enough to make the shift, you know.
Yeah, one thing I can say is I never made the shift out of Lilly, but I have to make a lot of shift within Lilly. And 4 years ago, they decided to close my group, something I was doing for almost 10 years, the Open Innovation Drug Discovery. We had changes on the leadership. They came in, they say, we're going to close your group. And then you have to make decisions. What do I do next, right? And I had an opportunity to go back to my old computational chemist job, join the previous group that I started from, or there was this very exciting, very different opportunity. Maria, go and it was going to be me and who is my boss today, my colleague Marta. You guys can go in a short-term assignment in Discover IT while you build the Talent Developer Academy. It didn't have name yet. You just needed to build something from scratch. And I talked with a lot of people, some of my mentors, and I had some mixed feeling because, you know, I have to provide for my family. I have a daughter that is getting ready to go to college, so I can't just afford to not have a job. And then I have to make that decision. But I took the the idea, like, I have been a computational chemist for so long. I'm so passionate about people. I wanted to embrace this and create this new group, which now I'm not a scientist anymore. I don't work, well, I'm always a scientist, but I'm not a scientist doing work as a scientist. And so I sometimes, when I talk with the people that I'm interviewing, trying to find for to bring in as the new workforce for Lilly, the next generation workforce for Lilly, I tell them I used to be drug hunter and now I'm a people hunter. I need to find the new me. But it is so satisfying in this time of my life to see someone here in the panel like Paula, that I know that it is here with us today because I was out there and we were looking for those special talents, and we are making a difference. When we put the effort, we make a difference. One thing I wanted to say before I stop this one is that many times people say, oh, there is not a lot of Latinas in STEM, because there is no Latinas in STEM. And then and that really bothers me. Oh, we didn't hire Latinas because there's no Latinas in STEM. And then in this new job, in this new program I have, my answer is there is a lot of Latinas in STEM. You just didn't go to the place where they are. So go look for them where they are. There is hundreds, thousands of top talent Latinas. You just need to look on the right place.
Completely agree. I think if companies aren't being intentional and aren't taking that extra step, right, then they're being lazy. And it's easy to say, well, there's no Latinas in STEM, so therefore we're not going to do anything. But there are Latinas in STEM. Paula, you talked about the Society for Hispanic Engineers. Is that?
Yeah, SHIP, the Society of Hispanic Professional Engineers.
Exactly. Techqueria, there's so many organizations out there that if folks just took the extra step to look, that they will find us. So something else that you all brought up in different ways, and that was the belonging piece. How can we find belonging, that sense of belonging, not only, coming to the United States, or being in Indiana, and I think, Maria, you were in Mississippi, Paula, you were in Georgia. How can we find that sense of belonging? And so my question is, how do you remain authentic in your Latinidad in the workplace and on social media like LinkedIn? Like, how do you remain authentic to who you are, but then also ensure that you're professional, or you're bringing the right whatever it is to the workplace. Jasmin, you want to start?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think something that's very important, and I think that even in my own career journey, it's taking me a little bit to learn, but by definition, professionalism is the competence and skills expected of a professional. It has nothing to do with your personality, what you're wearing, the way that your hair may look. Like, none of that by definition is ingrained in professionalism. But I think when you're coming up in society, and I think a lot of it has to do with white supremacy and, the ideas that are ingrained in our, everyday notions, even in our education system. You're taught like, calladita se ves más bonita, or you're like, if you're quiet, you're going to be better. You have to be respectful of those that are ahead of you or superior to you. And it does take a lot of unlearning. I am very aware of my privilege. I'm very aware that I grew up in I'm second generation. My mom is definitely like more of that old school person. And she looks at me and she's like, how did you come from me? Like, what happened? Like, how did this occur? Because I think I would say maybe my second year working post-college, I was like, okay, this isn't working for me. Like, I can't sit here and not answer questions or not question something or not speak up. And I think that that's when I decided that, I would remain respectful, but I would share my opinion and I would speak up for others. And especially in the roles that I've held now in tech and as a consultant, I'm so happy that like I can be that like, hey, actually, we need to have XYZ and you need to do this in order to be more inclusive. But it is a journey. And I don't think it's like something that happens overnight. I think a lot of it has to do with like, I almost think all of us have like one moment where we're like almost so uncomfortable that we then figure out we have to do something different, or there's like a pivotal moment. I've had a few for sure. But I do think it's something that you continue to learn. So even to take it back to the question on my LinkedIn, I feel like I throw in a mix of Spanglish. From working at Techqueria, we were so used to using emojis all the time that I throw in emojis all the time. So if you look at my LinkedIn, I feel like I like format things with emojis. It's always happening. And it just works for me. And I think that, and I've heard before, like people will say like my messages sound like my conversation, because they really do. Like I get so excited to meet people. I make myself available to them. And I really just try and make sure that like this idea of professionalism is really focused on what that actually means. So I can wear jeans every day. I mean, I haven't worn not jeans for a while because of COVID, but I'm like, whether or not I wear a suit coat or not, or a blazer, it doesn't make me any different. But it's a journey. I don't know. I feel like that was like a big answer, but I do think I try my best to use what I know and to help others, but then also really like hit home that professionalism has nothing to do with how I look or my personality. So yeah, I think it's really important that more of us understand that.
Thank you. Anyone else want to add to that?
I have a little bit. I want to challenge the first question a little bit, because and you can understand the sense of belonging in different ways. What I want to say is you also can be comfortable with being the odd duck, with not fitting in, because fitting in means conform to the norm. And I can conform to the norm as long as my mouth is shut, but the minute I open my mouth, it's gone out the window, and I have a very Latina personality, and I'm, ebullient, and I talk loud, and I move my hands, and I move, and I like to dance, and and that's okay. and it gets to you being comfortable with who you are, and knowing that on the other hand, you can be an excellent professional. You can be very, very, very serious about your work and what you produce and the way that you deliver your work, while keeping your Latino personality intact. I mean, the other thing is, being from Uruguay, I'm almost always the only one in the company, the only one in the group, the only one, and there's a lot more population from my Latino neighbor countries than there is from Uruguay. So the rare times when we found another Uruguayan is a party, it's really good. But also the sense of belonging to me comes from understanding that they don't have to be from your same country. And other people don't even have to be Latinos to form part of your extended family, right? I have found excellent friends, people that we have deep connections with, that come from completely different cultures, languages, countries, you name it, but we have the same values. So as long as we're building on the same values and we respect each other and try to understand each other more, then that works. And then that gives you, I think, that sense of belonging.
All right, thank you for that. So I have a question in the audience, and I'm going to tie in the question from the audience to one of the questions that I have. So the question says, ¿Cómo manejan su vida de trabajo, esposas y madres? So how do you maintain your life as in your work, being a mother, being a wife? But I'm going to tie that into just in general, when the journey isn't clear, what advice do you have for those Latinas in the audience today, or anyone that's charting their path? What can they do right now to grow their careers and get to leadership when they have all these other things going on, work, being a mother, being a sister, being a wife, all of those things?
I think I can start on that one. I have to do that many times. Balance sometimes, trying to figure it out. What are you gonna do today? You have a deadline, but you also have a school competition for your kid that you wanted to be there. One of the things I found, and I don't know if that is true for everybody, is that the company I work for is very respectful of boundaries, that you have a life outside of your company. And so that is important, because if you work for a company that will take everything you have and a little bit more, then it's hard. So first is to make sure you work for a company that respect your time, that has work balance. I was able to get as I become a mother, I came to my boss and I said I want flexible hours. I wanted to be able to not work one day of a week. And so I wanted to work long hours, Monday to Thursdays, and have my Fridays off. And he looked at me funny and I said, and you're going to be benefit for it. Because, if I don't work Fridays, all my daughter's appointment will be on Friday. All my medical, dentist, everything will be on Friday. You will have me 100%. So give me my Friday off. Right? But I had to fight for it. But I wasn't shy. I said, I need that time to recharge, to be able to do things with my daughter. And then when my daughter was old enough that she was in school all the time, and I didn't need that Friday to be with her, to do things with her, I went back and I said, I want to work regular hours. So try to find what works better for you. There is no secret sauce. Every person has their way that they operate, that they work for them. But when you find what it's missing or what making you be stressed, think about what could have better. To me, it was important after I had to go back to work with my daughter only being 2 months old, is that I need the extra time. I need that day where I could be there for her, where I could go to every appointment. And it, as my life changed, also my requirements to the company changed. Um, there was a time that I used to buy vacation because I need more time with my family. Now I sell vacation because I have been with the company for so long. I have more vacations that I have time to take them. So I sell it, and the money I pay for my health insurance, right? So it's in each time of your life, make sure you reflect what is important to you at that point of your life and advocate for it. And there is lots of jobs. Sometimes as a Latina, um, we are afraid to change. So we stay in the same job and we do the same things, and we hope that people will notice us, that we're gonna get promoted. And I've been there in the very early days of my career. Many times I thought I deserved more, that I deserved that, but I wasn't able, I couldn't talk about it because I thought the way I was raised is that you do the right thing, you do the good things, people will notice, and you're gonna be rewarded for it. Then I realized, yeah, you're going to be rewarded, but you need to advocate for yourself because there are others advocating for them. And so there are not infinite promotions. So I learned long after 10 years of my career that I better speak for myself. I better go and have my elevator speech. I better be the one that really have my best interest. Of course, we have mentors, we have people to help us, we have to have a community, right? We have to have a village, but at the end, you are the only one that will make your career change and you make your life better. So you have to advocate for yourself. You needed to take the time and see in each part of your life what is important at that time, and fight for it.
I think if I can build off Maria's point, I think to the point, I mean, I will acknowledge I'm just a dog mom. I'm a great granddaughter, so I have those responsibilities. And I think as professionals, and no matter where you are in your journey, I think understanding what your non-negotiables are. So like these are things that you are keeping no matter what are so important. For me, I know that I have a dog that I have to walk every day. She's now, spoiled because of COVID, so she goes out more often. So I need to make sure that those time blocks are on my calendar. And then I love to support. I have a grandfather with Alzheimer's. I help him with doctor's appointments and things like that. And I help my grandparents because they don't speak as much English. I'll help them and I make myself available for that. And I know that in any roles that I've had, I've always maintained that if I'm off, I'm off. Like if my day is off, please don't email me. Do not expect for me to respond to an email. And that's just not an option anymore. And it took me a long time to get there, but I think that that's when I finally realized like, okay, this is work. And I think, especially in today's climate, I mean, I don't think any of us are unaware of the layoffs and everything that's happening in society. Like, I think it's super important to realize that like you are a person yourself and your job is not you. And that's such a hard thing to come to. But unfortunately, we have to acknowledge that like we are a number for many of these companies. And whether we are, working our butts off or not, things may happen to us. We may be laid off. We may not get that promotion. So really just validating, like Maria said, like know what you want, think about your vision, where you see yourself, but then plan for that and advocate for yourself. So what I always tell people that I mentor, that I work with, I'm like, find someone, and if their role looks like something you want, reach out to them. And I do it all the time for members of Techqueria or different communities that I support. And I say, like, if it makes you uncomfortable, I'll do it for you. And I'll share that introduction and I will be like, hey, I love this person. Like, here's what they do. And they're interested in getting to know you for XYZ purpose. And I think that's so important, just to keep advocating for yourself and putting yourself intentionally in spaces that make sense. So I think like Linda and we connected months ago and we were just like, messaging back and forth, and it was so hard for us to get in touch, but I'm like, Linda's always somewhere that makes sense. Like she was always interacting with things from Techqueria. I'm like, I don't even know Linda, but I love everything she's doing. I started learning about women in high tech and I was like, this is great, like such great people in these spaces. But had I not sought out those environments and had I not placed myself in those spaces, I wouldn't know these things. And I think that that's something that, you know, we hear about networking and that just sounds like such a random thing, but even like popping into one of these things, like, and into a virtual space and, you know, chatting, that's such an easy way to network. And you've immediately grown your, you know, community by 40 plus people just from 30 minutes or just from an hour in an afternoon. So really just thinking about it intentionally. And honestly, just know your non-negotiables. Mine are pretty simple. Like, I want to have days off. I like to walk my dog. I like to have things that I can do with them. And I know that I want to be in an environment where I feel that I can be authentic. And if that doesn't feel like it's the case immediately, I'm a hard no. And I will exit the situation and I will say, like, you know, I just don't think it's a good fit. As like a employee or a candidate, you also get to choose those things. And you can ask people. You don't have to just kind of listen.
And to build up on that a little bit, if I may, is absolutely flexibility is key. I mean, in my particular case, I'm a single mom of 3 teenagers, all boys. So there's a lot of activity, a lot of trips coming and going, sports, you know, we move all the time. And flexibility is key. So what I tell my teams is, you know, you might get emails from me at weird times in the evening. It's okay, because I'm comfortable doing that from wherever I am at that point. Maybe I'm at the soccer field waiting for somebody, and maybe I can't be there in the middle of the day because we have, you know, a dentist appointment or whatever it is, but the work is complete and the work will be done, and you can count on me for that. So that's, to me, the most important. That's sort of the philosophy we have in our group as well. Now, as I was having my children and, you know, growing as a mother, I've had situations in which I had to negotiate maternity leaves, for example, in which, you know, the usual was one thing, and that was not exactly what I wanted to do. So I presented my manager at the time with a couple of different options. I go, well, I could go, and I can't even remember details, but maybe 6 weeks altogether. And then, you know, I'll start working in 6 weeks, but then, you know, or so you won't see me until 6 weeks or whatever weeks it was. Or I could start part-time, work from home, start 2 days a week, and then you'll see me very soon, but I will be able to stay at home and nurse my child the length of time I want to do it in peace, and then come back to the office later on. And that worked great. So one of the take-homes for me is, when you're in a given situation, negotiation is always possible. Okay. And it could be that when you negotiate and you get at the end and you don't get what you wanted, but at least you did the effort. You know, many times women don't negotiate, and Latino women, I think, we negotiate even less. But it's important, if you have a clear idea of what you want to do and where you want to be at, you know, talk about it and listen to the other side's position. You know, what is their point of view? Why are they thinking about something in a particular way? And then try to see if you can shift, you know, both positions to get to an agreeable medium. So that would be the one thing. And then the other one, networking, has been mentioned many times. Absolutely. And it will be uncomfortable at the beginning, and it's weird to reach out to somebody that you don't know and make the initial, you know, contact, but do it. Because I thought that the jobs gotten through friends happened only in my country. That's not true. It happens all over the world. It is who you know, where you know them, how you know them. And of course, you're not going to pretend to, you know somebody today and get a job tomorrow, but you develop a relationship. You touch base. You say, hey, how are you doing? Can we have a coffee? Do you have 15 minutes to bounce my brain off of you? You know, some thoughts, some ideas. And with time, things evolve and things happen, and people are able to lift each other, you know. So the other thing is that when you get to a point where you can lift other people, please do, because all of us need that, and all of us try to do that with the coming generations as well.
All right, so I would like to build up on a little bit what everyone has said. I think definitely in the personal aspect, having boundaries is good for your own mental health. I know now that's a big topic, and it's important. It's important because the way that you are taking care of yourself, you're gonna represent back in the work that you do for your company. That's one. But I wanted to talk a little bit back to what Maria said, like identifying in the stage of your life is important. For example, I'm just starting my career, right? So I have all this energy. I'm like a sponge. I'm gonna absorb as much information as I can, and write like my schedule daily is like, oh, I have a lot of things going on outside of work, at work. And it's okay because I have the time now, but I know eventually I'm gonna want to start building a family, right? Settling up. So my question now is, okay, what am I gonna do now to help prepare the next person that is coming in early career, right? And making sure that in the time that I'm gonna be down, there is someone else building on everything that I have already done, right? Because our life is gonna be like up and down. I guess as you are growing up your kids, you know, you are down, you cannot do much extracurricular, but then as your kids go to college, then you have more time to go back to that you started like working on earlier in your career. So that's important. And then two, I would say I'm very fortunate because I'm experiencing something at work that not many people had, and it was a rotational program that it kind of tackles that idea of doing what you love to do, right? So I'm getting the opportunity to rotate in 3 different departments among all R&D, research and development here at Lilly, where I can figure out where I feel belong, where I feel my family, where I feel like the team that I want to contribute to. So I guess my advice will be, if there is no such a thing at your job, well, maybe start having these conversations, kind of what Maria said, right? They, after long time, they say, well, we need this, right? And to attract Latino women, because we have this sense of familia that we need to find it not just at home, we need to find it at work too, right? It could be with your neighbor, it could be with the team that you work with. So making sure that I, as a Latina, can find that team where I feel like familia, is gonna make me stay in that group and give my best, because when we found our true place, we're gonna be good, because that's how we were raised, right? To work and do our best. But we'll do it when we find those places where we feel belong and we feel heard and we feel the familia aspect.
Y hablando de familia, a lot of our families may have placed different thoughts in our heads, right? Depending on if you're first generation or you've been here, of what you need to do for your family, what you need to do, you know, as a woman. And maybe that has dissuaded some Latinas from going into STEM fields. And I would say the same for lawyers. I've heard the same thing as a lawyer. So, and then we have a message in the chat where someone talked about kind of that imposter syndrome, right? So she asked, let me see if I can get back to it, about being hard on yourself. Let's see if I can find it, sorry. Oh, well, she just asked, you know, what do you do, or how do you stop being so hard on yourself when you make a mistake, when things are difficult? I think we all, with type A personalities in STEM, in law, that we want to be perfectionists. We want to make sure that things are done correctly. Our families have ingrained that into us as well, right? That work hard, do your best. What do you do when you are having those challenges, when you are feeling that maybe you're not at your best, or you're not doing what you want to do? How do you overcome those challenges and that imposter syndrome?
I could start if you want to. So I actually have a little story. So when I was in college, I had to, so as I told you, it was a dual degree. So I had to go to IUPUI and Marian, but it was one semester that I also had to go to Butler. And it's not like I didn't have enough time. I also wanted to play lacrosse. So my schedule was like Marian, IUPUI, back to Marian, back to Butler practice, right? And I remember I took a cell bio test and I didn't do as good. And I saw other people did so good. And one specific girl came back and she's like, oh my God, you need to get better, blah, blah, you know, like giving me all this feedback. And I started feeling like, oh my gosh, like, yes, I need to do better. Like, it's a school, right? But also at the same time, I start feeling like, but I go to 3 schools, I'm getting 2 degrees. I'm playing lacrosse, right? I start thinking like, I'm not just taking this class, kind of what she was doing. I was also putting other things. I mean, I also had other things on my table. And I think that was like an eye-opening to me to not compare myself. Because I, like, you know, at the moment I was like, oh my God, yes, I'm doing so bad in this test. But at the same time, I was like, wow, like I'm doing completely different things, and that's my nature. Like I cannot just do one thing. I need to, like, you know, I can work, I can do really good work, but also I like to be part of like this nonprofit organization because it builds up on my personality and like helping my community to get to where they want. I cannot just do work. So at that moment, I realized, well, there is people who just like to do work, and that's great. They're good at it. And there is people like me, or like we're all different. So I think that helped me to understand that I still sometimes compare myself. That doesn't delete everything, but it brings me back to air, like ground me every time that I feel like oh my gosh, I'm not doing as good as that person. Well, because I'm not that person, right? And because their failures are completely different to my failures, right? Like I cannot expect that person to have the same journey as me because we are not. We came from completely different places. So I think being aware that we are all unique has helped me to go with that failure mode, right? Understanding that it's not too much of a failure, it's a growth in my career. Sometimes are really bad, really, really bad. Sometimes it's like just a step, right? And it's okay. And also having this, going back to the mentor, right? Having these mentors who help you understand when you have failures, you're like, oh my gosh, I did this so bad, but they can see the whole picture and they can help you understand, oh, look, maybe you are only seeing it this way, but why don't you try to see it this way, right? To help you understand what is the learning from this. So yeah.
So as a scientist, we are seeing more failures than success in our careers. Um, and when you work as a chemist or a computational chemist, a medicinal chemist, and when you work on the field of trying to discover new drugs, um, it takes what, 10 years, 12 years to put a new drug on the market. So uh, 80% of the projects you work on, or even more, 80%, what? 90% of the projects you work on will fail. But what you needed to learn is from the failures is that you you move on. Okay, this science doesn't work, you go to the next one, you try again. And so because working as a scientist most of my life and having to deal with a lot of um, programs that don't move forward, targets that doesn't work, I learned to understand that when something doesn't work, that it fell, is an opportunity to do something better. And I try to bring this outside of my career as well. Is an opportunity to find what is the next that you can do. Um, it's a very cliche thing. My mom used to say, "Okay, a door is closed, get out from the window," right? So take the next opportunity. And so my work always helped me to deal very well with things that doesn't work. The whole word failure is kind of funny. So I prefer to say, okay, we tried, we didn't get the results we wanted, move to the next one and continue try. And then on top of it, to me, it is important. Many times it doesn't work because the science doesn't work, but many times it doesn't work because we made mistakes, we didn't do the right way. And so if we take the learnings and do it the next time better, it is also another lesson, right? Not that we always going to succeed, but when we failure, bad results are also important results because they help us to move forward and to do something better next. Because if you know that this doesn't work, you're not going to keep doing it. And so that's how I deal with failures and mistakes. Those are steps for me to do something better next.
I'll take one more answer and then we have just a few minutes left and I want to get to at least maybe 2 more questions if possible.
I can add a little bit more to that one, just thinking of Paula's and Maria's responses. I'm completely in agreement. And but I also try to think of failures as opportunities, as Maria said. because yes, we do see a lot of failure in science, but also what did you learn from that? What can you do different? Can you pivot? Can you discuss with other people and see what another different path could be? So that is when my older college advisor used to bring us, a lot of mathematical problems. And when they were talking about that, I go, well, this is a problem. And he says, well, I'd like to think of them as opportunities. And I go, there you go. Let's do it this way. And then another thing that I always heard throughout my life, and this is from my mother actually, and paraphrasing Don Quixote, the book from Cervantes, is, yo sé quién soy y sé quién puedo ser, which means I know who I am and I know who I can be. So with respect to the imposter syndrome, if you know your capacity, it doesn't matter if you feel a little bit insecure, if somebody else doesn't appreciate that, you know what you can do. So then go and do it. I mean, there's times when I was going for the PhD that somebody close to me said, oh, I think you're trying to do too much. This is too big of a thing. And, but I knew I could do that. And I just turn around and say, watch me.
I love that. Watch me. All right. I think we have time for one more question. I want to get everyone possibly to answer this one. In our audience, we have men, women of all races and backgrounds here. And I want to know how can allies and champions support Latinas in the workplace? And also, what should our leaders be doing?
I'm happy to start. So I think that it's important to, one, educate yourself on what space or whatever you're consuming as an ally in this space. So knowing things like the facts and the statistics that Linda and Doneisha shared at the beginning is really important. I don't think that you notice that there isn't enough representation until you learn about such. And with that in mind, you have to be more tactful as an ally and more intentional in creating those opportunities or being that liaison. So an opportunity for you is, reaching out to different organizations like SHIP or Techqueria, Latinas in Tech, people of color in tech. There's tons. Just Google diversity, STEM, tech, anything, find one, interact, put yourself in those spaces. And then also, just small things can help. Giving a referral for a job can help. Just acknowledging that you may not know everything, or learning more is really important. Coming to more events like this, I think, is helpful because you do get to learn different perspectives. And something that I always share, and it's been meaningful throughout my entire journey, Latinos are not the same. I know I did not grow up, and I've always had to fight this idea that, like, my family, we don't speak Spanish at home. I learned it from my grandmother. And even at that, she likes to use English sometimes too. And we were eating like normal American food at home. Like, I was not at home eating rice and beans every day, despite what my classmates thought. So really, debunking these stereotypes or myths that you may have, and understanding that there is so much variety in our culture and our people. And as an ally, learning that, being open to ask questions respectfully or to place yourself in a position where you can support others is really important. And it continues every day. And I would say, even for myself, I work exclusively within diversity, equity, and inclusion, and I learn something every day. And I think that what I say always to people in STEM and people in technology, the great thing about this industry is that there is no genius, because these science fields, they're always changing and developing. So all of us are here in a position where we need to continue learning. And the same thing is true for allies, and the same is true for, ourselves. We have to continue learning. We have to be open to that. And being open to, maybe making a mistake and not taking that so to heart is really important.
All right, 1 minute each for Paula, Amparo, and Maria.
Okay, I can go. So I will say I think I agree with Jasmin, and I will touch a little bit more on that, like what every day could look like. I think what has happened to me is that there are people who are not from my background who has taken the lead to learn more about it, and they have mentored me, and and it's more like an unofficial mentor. It's not like we were in a program or like we were selected to be together. It's more like we had this one-on-one conversation. You know, we really got together, and they were and they are like able, like they want to learn more about me, and obviously I would like to learn more about them. So I think sponsoring meaning like mentoring someone that maybe looks different than you will really help you open like your eyes of what is happening it may be in our world. I personally enjoy sharing my goods and my bads with these people, because you know we need you as an ally. We cannot do this alone. Like we not like it cannot be only Latinas. It cannot be only like one group. We need everyone to understand that we need to work together. We just have to figure out what is that common thing. And as you connect with more people different than you can understand, oh, we connect because we are familia. Oh, we connect because we like STEM, or we connect because we like Spanish, whatever it is. So making sure, like, you know, like if you meet someone in these events or like anywhere in your company, just maybe you are not sure how to start a conversation, just like, hey, can we have a coffee chat? Or like early career professional, you know, that maybe needs that mentorship of how to navigate in this world of like the corporate America.
I can
I mean,
I can go
yes, I
next.
know I can never find the right.
Okay.
I would say for people that want to be allies and champions is first get to know the person as a person, because for Latinos at least, and I think for everybody, it's important to be known and recognized and understood as a person. Then get to know the culture, understand the work style. And I would say for Latinos, provide stretch assignments. We're capable. I mean, the issue that we have, maybe we have an accent, it doesn't affect our brain. You know, the brains work perfectly well, even if the words sometimes come out a little scrambled or a little accented. That's fine. And be an advocate. And I think, Paula, you might have mentioned that, or maybe somebody else, but be the person that mentions the Latino when they're not in the room. You know, be a sponsor more than a mentor. So the mentor is the one that will help you understand the business, understand, you know, network with you, help you connect with other people. But the sponsor is the one that will bring your name up for an opportunity when you don't even know about it. And those are the ones that actually exert change.
Okay, Amparo, you stole my thunder because
Sorry.
I was going to talk about sponsorship, so you just nailed it. Yes, I think not all of us are at the workplace as in a position to always be sponsored. But sponsorship, sometimes people think they needed to be the VP or this to be able to be a sponsor. There's so many ways to be a sponsor, even uh, in the same level you can be a sponsor. I think this is very important to find opportunity for others. And if someone say about something, oh, there is this new project or this new thing happening, say, oh, you know, um, Paula had an experience in this. She had done this before. Like not just thinking about you, but think about others. And it is a community that whatever you do here comes back. As more you sponsor others, more you advocate for others, they will do for you too. So because they will remember, oh, you know what? I'm here because 2 years ago, Maria thought of me and she said, and now I'm saying this, I'm going to do for Maria. It became, because you remember what people did. And so it's that pay forward. Always continue to help others in whatever capacity you can do. You don't need to be the very high person in the company. There's always something you can do for others. And so be a mentor, but be a sponsor to me is a very important thing. And I love what you said about the accent, Amparo, because I had, when I was in graduate school, I did have a friend that every time we present we had a group meeting. We had to present a paper, and I could not say some of the things. And there was always a lady in my group that would giggle it. Every word out of my mouth, that girl would giggle it. And that would drive me nuts. One day, I don't know, I was with no patient. I stopped my presentation. I told her, look, my English might not be the best, and I have a very heavy accent, but I know the science. So if you're not comfortable with my pronunciation, you can tell me, oh, it pronounces this way. You teach me, but don't giggle it and disturb my presentation, because this is about science. It's not my broken English. And by the way, I have a broken English because I speak 2 languages. And then after that, she never ever giggled anymore. And then I said, take constructive. Teach me how to speak well. If you see me say something wrong, tell me, hey, Maria, we say that way. But stop giggling. So finally, I had to take one moment that I was very pissed to say it. But I wish we all would take the moment to say, hey, help me. Don't put me down. Right?
I just want to say, first of all, thank you to you ladies for being a part of this session today. And I've been watching the chat and seeing people who are inspired by you and by your accomplishments and by your counsel. So first, I want to say thank you so much. The other thing I want to say is this. I was at an event last week, and a speaker got up and he said, you know what? We are diverse and talented. We have to stop saying if you hire someone diverse, you compromise. It's not a compromise. Diverse and talented. You can have both, and any person, be them Black or Latina, or so we need to stop saying, oh, we'll hire somebody diverse, because as you can see on this panel today, you have some rock star Jedi women who are experts in their field, who have excelled in their careers, who are educated. So we have to say, and I challenge you today, the next time you have a conversation with someone, say diverse and talented. The other thing I will offer is this. It is so very important to network. So anyone who's on this call, I know it may be uncomfortable, but network, find a mentor, take a mentee, but get together and start exposing yourself, because I will say this, exposing yourself to the world. When you see us, you can be us. And so all of these women here are visible, and we need more of you to be visible so others can look up and see Amparo or Maria or Paula or Jasmin or Doneisha. I mean, so please, make sure that you're connecting with people, you're networking, and be visible so young people who come behind you can see you and be you. I just want to take this time again to thank you so much for your time. This will be posted on YouTube. We'll notify you. Connect with these women. If you have more questions, send them questions. And they also follow them, because they're all doing speaking and they're experts in their field. So follow them so you can learn more from these amazing women. Thank you so much for your time today and for attending. I so appreciate you, and I so appreciate these awesome women on the panel today. So thank you very much, and have a fantastic day.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. And Linda, you want us to stay on?
Yes. So I just wanted to say thank you, ladies, so much for participating today. And I was watching the chat, and there were people who were saying, wow, I'm inspired. This is the energy pill. So I'm so happy for that. And I'm so happy that you were here today. And I did want to share that I did see the one comment about the degree from the person from Mexico. And if there's anything